Right, time to take a look at how we capture data. The capturing of data. Well, it's not really that complex. I mean, at the end of the day, we've been doing it for a long time because, you know, traditionally, you tend to fill out paper-based forms, don't you? If you want to get information from someone, their gender, their doctor's details, sort of stuff that when you joined your school, your parents normally filled out a piece of paper, and then that paper-based form could, and I'll put the word could onto computer. You could then transfer it onto computer. And I guess the vast majority of data that you've ever given your school probably will be transferred into something like SIMS, a school's information management system, the sort of thing that generates your reports and your attendance, those sorts of things. It doesn't have to be. It does really bring us on to the next point. You know, that's the traditional way you capture data, was to fill in a form. But sometimes, of course, you don't even fill the forms in. You can basically do something, well, just I refer to this as an on-screen form. The bottom line is that you can simply use a keyboard and mouse, of course, and you can fill in the form. Fill in keyboard and mouse to fill in the form. And in this particular one, you can see it says, what is your gender? What is your favourite side dish? It was the first thing I found on a Google search of, I think, of on-screen form. But I'm sure you get the idea that two ways of capturing data are just simply to fill in paper-based forms that could be transferred onto a computer, or it may well be, and perhaps the most common way nowadays, is that you simply fill in forms. If you want to book a flight somewhere, you're going to fill in an on-screen form with your name and address and your credit card details. But that's really about capturing data predominantly, so we say, I think in some ways this is perhaps the classic way that we capture data about the human data, if you like, your gender, your address, your telephone number, your email, etc. Normally done through paper-based on-screen forms. But don't consider data as just being information about you. Let's consider something else. That's apparently this is the dashboard from a Ford Fusion. Not that I know, but you'll notice on the Ford Fusion here, we have the ability to see the level amount of petrol we've got in there, amount of miles per gallon. That's a calculation there. I think it can tell you how fast, what gear you're in. It may well be that if you're low on oil, a little sort of oil light symbol. That's not a bad drawing, actually. I'm quite proud of that. All my drawings are normally rubbish, but a normal oil light might come on, and there's all sorts of different things that will tell you if there's a water, isn't there? If the again, this is going to look a bit rude, but that's supposed to be a thermometer, yeah, it'll tell you if your engine's overheating. The whole point is that data about the temperature of the car and the oil level and how much petrol you have and what gear you're in. Oh, actually, there's hot, cold there. I don't know why I drew that. It was over here all the time. We have inside the car a number of sensors that will basically read the data about the level of petrol, etc., and that will send that through to a little, what we call this, it's called an embedded computer. We'll just put computer there for a minute, and then of course that displays it, as we can see over here on the dashboard. So what you have is input, process, output, and that's the standard sort of thing you find with any form of really sort of computerized setup. So we have a system here where data is captured via sensors. It's not captured by the filling in of forms. You don't have to put up the garage and someone puts a dipstick in to tell you how much oil you've got and then fills a form in to let you know. The computer does it automatically, and that's perhaps a word that we want to focus on here. Automatic data capture. So we've seen it in the car here, but of course this is something I'm sure you guys are familiar with. The barcode reader, and of course we're most familiar with those when we go shopping. And of course, instead of somebody manually typing in the barcode of the product or the number of the product or looking up from a list, we can just use the barcode scanner to go beep, and automatically, assuming the computer's been programmed correctly, it will recognize that item and bring it up on the screen. So we've captured, and interestingly, what's in, actually, this is a little side thing for you. What's in a barcode? Actually, there are people think, oh, the price is not in the barcode. You'll find 4 things in the barcode. You will find the product number. You'll find the manufacturer code. Oh, that's very poorly written. I know I've got more to write, you see. You'll find interesting I'll tell you now, the country of origin, so put country down there, and something called a check digit, which we may have a look at later on with data validation. I'm not sure that's on the syllabus, but I thought I'd just tell you what's in a barcode. People often think the price is in there, but just to emphasize to you, price is not on the barcode. Otherwise, every time you change the price, you'd have to change little black and white strips there to reflect that. So that's not in there. Barcodes. You capture this data and the computer in the process will look up the price of it, and then you'd use a keyboard. There we go. Use a keyboard to capture the number of units bought. Sometimes what happens is you scan your tin of beans and they know you've got 8 tins of beans. They don't scan it 8 times. You see the person on the till go 8. They press the keyboard and they just push the rest through without scanning them. I'm sure you are aware of that. So again, that's automatic data capture, because the great thing about that is it improves the accuracy. Anyway, let's move on, because this is what we call an RFID, a radio frequency identification device. I think it's what it is. And what it is the idea that, well, in fact, actually, there's a school of thought that says that in the future, when you go to tills at shops, they won't even need barcode scanners, because all these little radio frequency things can be read. So you could just literally push a trolley underneath a big arch, if you like, and it'll just automatically say your bill is this much, which is speed things up. And then you put your card in, and and then you put your PIN code in, and you pay for it all. So you can actually do away with people at cashiers scanning items if we move towards these little sticky labels. I suppose some people might say, well, you might want to swap them round. So for example, you might go in and buy a very expensive television and swap the sticker for a can of beans. So I don't think there's a way to do over staff completely, because I think someone might be sort of overlooking what you're doing. But radio frequency identification device, that's what this sort of thing is, and they're commonly used. Well, not commonly used at the moment, but that's potentially the future of shopping. And then this is potentially the future of shopping as well. It's called NFC. It stands for Near Field Communication. And you guys might be aware of this. You may even use this already. It's called, we refer to it in the UK as contactless technology. Contactless technology. And if you think about it logically, the data that's being captured here, well, in this particular one, it will actually be capturing your sort of credit card details. These things, we have them at McDonald's, is the classic example, but I'm using a branded name, but you can waive one of the special credit cards and you haven't even got to put your PIN number in. I think at the moment, the most you can spend in the UK via this is sort of £15. But if you think about it for the future, and this is not on the course, but think about shopping in the future, it may well be that you just chuck everything in a trolley, you have your credit card in your pocket, and it may well be that you can just literally take your trolley out to the car and have no human beings at all. You chuck everything in, and because you've got your credit card in your pocket, it reads the RFID, the contactless part of your card. At the moment, you've got to wave it, haven't you? Here, this is phones being waved with this device. It could be, say, a credit card as well. But it may well be in the future the technology evolves that you don't even need to wave it at something. You've got your credit card in your pocket and you've gone through with your RFIDs and just chuck everything in the car, and it automatically debits everything from your bank account. And that's not far away, I think, by the time that the majority of you guys become parents, because you won't do that until your mid-20s, I hope, at least. You will, this thing may be standard within the UK sort of shopping environment. It's not going to be for everybody, because it's only really going to be the big players, the big shops who are going to be able to do that. Let's move on, because we've talked about the ways that we can capture data. What I'd like to have a look at just quickly now is sort of restrictions upon the ways in which we can capture data. I suppose it depends, first of all, let's put this down, the nature of the data itself. Well, let's think about this, first of all. We'll split this into two. Environmental conditions. The bottom line is that we talked about, you can have contactless sensors and you can measure. Look, let's say you want to work out the temperatures in a volcano, or for example, something like that. Not a good idea if you're going up there with a thermometer and a paper-based form going, the temperature is 1,000 degrees, because you'd melt. So you're kind of forced in some environmental conditions that you're going to have to run with basically sensor-based technology, aren't you, with those computer-based sensors. Kind of similar in some ways, I guess, to what we saw in the car dashboard on the previous one. Another issue that you might want to consider is where the location of the information is. If I said to, I don't know, actually I suppose, if location of information, I'm trying to think of an easy way of explaining this now. Sometimes it's just in your head, really, isn't it? If I said to you, what's your favourite football team? You don't carry around a device that stores that information. You can't wave a plastic piece of paper. That doesn't make any sense either, does it? A plastic card at a device, and in there it stores that you follow Cardiff City or whoever it is that you follow. If you don't follow Cardiff City and you're from Cardiff, stop supporting Manchester United and Liverpool. You're not from there, you're from Cardiff. Support Cardiff. In fact, wherever you are, support your local team, for goodness sake. If the information's inside your head, then I don't think there's a lot of ways in which you can gather that using sensors and contactless technology. You're going to have to go back and fill in a piece of paper or put it on screen form. One of the big factors, of course, is the cost. Now, we went a moment ago, we looked at RFID and we looked at NCF. All of this is hardware that is expensive, and small independent traders are very unlikely to develop a shopping system that's going to have RFID and NCF at this moment in time. We don't know how the prices might come down in the future, but at this moment in time, the type of system that you use to gather data about products that you're selling really is going to be, the cost of the actual hardware to buy is going to be a huge impact on your choice of system to gather the data. Once again, the text, the syllabus I should say, does mention about availability. Now, I'm sort of struggling with this one because I'm there thinking, well, if the technology is available, then you can buy it in if you can afford it. So surely it's available if you can afford it. I'm not sure, personally, that availability is one. I don't really know how to discuss it, to be honest with you, because, if you can afford it, it's available. But it is on the specification, so please bear that in mind. Ease of use. There is no doubt that RFID, NCF, barcode scanners, all of those are far easier to use than typing things in. But so ideally you would say that when it comes to implementing a system, there is no doubt that these sorts of systems are in fact going to be easier for people to use. Or are they? I mean, if you're out doing a survey on the street about people's preferences to, I don't know, what brand of pop they like to drink or something like that, you're probably not going to be using barcode technology and stuff like that. Sometimes it's just so much easier to use a paper. Or, if you're doing a survey, you might want to use an iPad with an app that you've got built into it, or you might want to have an iPad and use something, a plus sign, like a Google form or something like that. I suppose it depends on the situation, the type of data that you're trying to gather. And finally, according to the specification, the security of your data is going to influence the type of technologies and devices that you're going to use to gather that data. At the end of the day, you might argue that a paper-based system is potentially more secure than a computerized system. If you put something on a computer, people can copy the files. If you want to make a copy of a paper-based system, you're going to have to go and photocopy it. So some people will argue that maybe paper-based systems are their preferred method. They want to keep things nice and secure. And we have that within teaching. There are certain things, for example, at the moment in time, like appraisals that we do, that we're not computerizing. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be definitely what happens in the future. To be honest with you, I think paper-based systems are going to be on the way out. I don't think in 10 years' time we'll see too many people on streets with bits of forms, with forms that you fill in on paper. They'll be gathering on things like iPads and tablet computers. But anyway, that's what the specification says. When gathering data, the factors that you need to consider are: 1, the nature of the data; are there environmental issues, the location of the information; 2, the cost; 3, the availability; 4, how easy it is to use; and 5, the security. Once again, if you're going to focus on one to be the most important, I think it's all to do with the cost of the hardware myself. That's the key one that I would play on any exam.